Hello, my fellow creator. So I have been doing my work now for over 20 years in the world. And one of the things that we have to be very careful of as entrepreneurs and conscious business owners and creators is overwhelm. And it's very overwhelming when you are trying to run your business and grow your business, and in some cases, be your business. So I'm hoping that the following video is going to give you a slightly different way of thinking about 6 important areas that I believe we all have to consider when we want to have a breakthrough in our business. These are 6 of the pillar areas that have been very important for me. They are areas I made big changes in over the years. And so I hope you enjoy this presentation. Get comfortable, make yourself a cup of tea or whatever your favorite brew is. You might want a notepad. You may want to watch this in a few sittings. Either way, I hope it gives value to you and the work that you are bringing to the world. And if you enjoy this, we hope you'll join us for Grow Your Business 2024. Grow Your Business is my in-depth course all about the different areas of business that we might need to focus on, consider, or improve in order to grow what we're doing in the world. So enjoy breaking through 6 areas to consider for your conscious business. Hello everyone, welcome to this free broadcast called Breaking Through 6 Areas to Consider when Growing Your Conscious Business. So firstly, thank you to all of you who've chosen to give your time and attention to this. I hope it serves you. And I know that over 14,000 of you signed up to be part of this broadcast, and then some of you might be watching it live on YouTube, so welcome. It's interesting, I've been reflecting over the last 24 hours as I prepare to deliver this broadcast, just on my own journey with my work. And I know some of you might be here randomly or intuitively, and you don't know who I am or what I do. So I thought just at the very beginning, I'll give you a quick bit of context on how I have been an entrepreneur in the last 19 years. Next year will be 20 years that I've been doing this. And the thing that's interesting to me is at the time I started doing this work, I was never imagining it could be my job. I was a huge, passionate student of self-growth, metaphysics. I would go off to workshops, I would go for tarot readings, I was reading all the spiritual books, but nothing in my brain had quite clicked around the idea that this was actually something I could do for work. I was at the time, I just created my first music album. I was trying to break into the music industry, and it was not going the way I wanted to. It wasn't working the way I wanted it to. And then over on the right, this thing that was a true passion of mine that was coming through me began in a very small way, and now 20 years later, that thing, that passion, that driving force to do this work has grown in so many ways. And I now understand that part of the reason that I didn't think it could be work for me was because back in 2004, when I started, the internet was very early. It wasn't what it is today. Spirituality, self-growth was not as popular as it is today in the mainstream. It has grown rapidly. But I also think there is something a little more intrinsic that was going on for me that might still be going on for any of us today, which is, it's interesting when you set out to bring your own work to the world, there is no other validation that you receive than that from your customers, people who engage with work that you might put out for free or articles. And so many of us, certainly of my generation here in my second half of my 40s, we grew up being validated by the school system or the world that we went to work in. This person gives you a job. So we were always reliant on other people's systems. And the reason I say that being an entrepreneur is kind of the biggest self-growth journey is because it really puts you through your own paces if you're paying attention. And I look at how much this job has shaped me, crafted me, educated me. humbled me, taught me some tough lessons, shown me areas I can be better or do better. And I'm really grateful for that. And I remember that one of my big fears, because my work is public facing, was the growth of everything. You know, on the one hand, I wanted the work to grow because I believe in what we do here and I believe in the mission. And on the other hand, I had some personal stuff around, well, what will happen if the work grows? Am I safe to kind of be exposed at that level? And will I be able to handle some of the stuff that comes my way? And, you know, I'm a channeler. And so my guides, they had forecast like 12 years ago. They said, your work is going to grow in the world as the years go on. And that's part of your path. And I remember expressing some fear, and they said, any challenges that you go through as a result of that will be far outweighed by the gifts, the connections, and the experiences you have, and the people you meet, and the people you get to serve, and how that will make you feel. And I offer that message that was personal to me because I think that's something we all have to remember. There are always days when you're growing your business that are hard, you know, things that can be very, very difficult, very, very challenging. Sometimes money is a struggle. Sometimes, you know, if you work with a team like I do, I mean, now I have a team of, there are about 22 people directly on the payroll, and that's not counting publishers or people in outside business relationships we have who might benefit. But you know, there were moments in time when it was just me, or it was just me and one part-timer or one designer or whatever it was I needed to plug into the business. And I think the growth that can come through working with a team is its own kind of lesson and learning. It can be beautiful, but it can also be challenging. So there is so much I could say in this free broadcast, but we're only going to be going for about an hour or maybe a little less, we'll see. So I'm going to cover the 6 areas that come to me with you that I would give advice about today. Because I know you're all going to be at different places. Some of you might just be considering bringing your gifts to the world. Some of you might have a successful business and you're wondering what's next to scale it. So I've just spent the last few weeks creating all of the videos for my Grow Your Business course, which starts in 9 days' time and covers a massive array of various topics. But I tried to extract 6 key areas that I could share with you today that are things that I would suggest considering when you're doing your work in the world. And just to finish my introduction there, so I began as a reader. In 2004, I was doing one-on-one sessions for people, and at the time I was a donation-based healer. I was charging £10 for a reading, which is, you know, about $15, and it would take me 90 minutes or sometimes a bit longer to do someone an intuitive reading. They would send me 3 questions by email, and I would sit there and write all of the words as I heard them, as they came through me, send them off this document, and that's how my work began. And it took 2 years for that work to become so busy that I left my day job in administration for a friend's business while I was still working on my music career. And so it took me 2 years to go from part-time to full-time, but then the journey from 2006 to here has been really incredible. And the key for me in my work has been scale. So if I had stayed doing readings, it would have been very difficult for me to reach as many people as I have, scale the business the way I have, and it would have been limited. I loved doing the readings, and that's why I stayed doing them for 15 years. But I've really enjoyed scaling what we do. And by scale, I simply mean finding different ways to bring education, transformation, and inspiration to people. So those really are my areas: education, transformation, and inspiration. And with our music, you know, that we produce now, that we've been bringing to the world in a much bigger way in the last 4 years, the same ethos is true. So over the years, it was everything from trying my first YouTube video and being quite terrified the day that I put my first energy update out 11 years ago. There have been various moments and stages. Now it's online courses, now it's live events. So at this point, there are about 10 or 11 different areas that my business serves. And I think it can be very easy to look at someone else that you either admire or you perhaps desire their career or how their work looks. But if I had ever believed that where I am today was possible 19 years ago, I would probably have got caught in the comparison trap, and that would have been probably dangerous for my progress. Which brings me to the first key area that I would like to just bring to any of you who are growing your work, growing a conscious business. And it's a very simple saying that I learned many, many years ago when I was directing a Christmas show back in the UK. And the head of the department who had given me the job, and I'd never directed a show on that scale before with, we did 65 shows, it was a big budget, it was a big deal. And I was working with all of the different departments every single day. I would go from the actors to the costume department, to the set department, to the script. And it was constant and it was endless. And I found myself, as the opening day approached, I said, oh my God, this is intimidating. How on earth, I said to the previous director, how did you get to the opening day without having a nervous breakdown? And he just said, because you just focus on the next thing. He said, don't think about the whole show. Don't think about opening day. So just keep focusing on the next task. So for me, the saying is one brick at a time. One brick at a time. We build a road, we build a path, or we build a kingdom or a queendom, one brick at a time. I think one of the shadow areas in our world at the moment is this success-based aspirational teaching that we often see. And I think it's tricky to look at someone else's end result or someone else's end result of, in my case, it's 19 years. In other cases, we see people who've been out there for 40 years, 30 years, even 10 years of building things one brick at a time. So if your mind is getting you into that mindset of, oh God, there's this I need to do and there's this I need to do and why haven't I achieved this yet? What is the thing you can do today that will contribute to the building of your business? The reason I want to share this too is there are things I did back in the early years that nobody heard or was paying attention to. I remember I made a channeled recording called Abundance and Relationships. There were two of them and I was burning them as CDs. I mean, that tells you where we were at, 2005, 2006. And I think 2 people maybe bought those recordings, or 3 or 4 in the first year on my very small website where I was mostly known for readings. But here's what I will tell you. I was thrilled someone bought them. For me, I wasn't disappointed that only 3 or 4 people had bought them. I was like, wow, 3 or 4 people bought this. And we were just reminiscing, myself and my team member Marty, the other day about how excited we were when we crossed 1,000 Facebook subscribers back in 2011. And today we're over 300,000. But to me, I was excited about those 1,000. So get excited about one brick. And especially if you feel like you're a long way from where you want to be, understand that everything you do today, with intentionality, with commitment to quality, with commitment to wanting to serve somebody, is building into what it is you're making. Those 2 recordings, Abundance and Relationships, it hit 2006 and my popularity increased and I was a little more known in the world that I was in, the channeling world at the time. And suddenly those recordings started to be consumed by people, which of course was great for business because it meant I was earning some money from these recordings I'd made, which to me was a miracle. I thought I had to turn up to earn my money. I thought I had to deliver each time to earn my money. It was like, wow, this is really helpful for me in the business. I can actually afford to think about maybe can I take on a part-timer now? But I had made those things not knowing whether or not anybody would really hear them. So don't forget that one brick that you're focused on today, no matter how successful or consumed or wanted you think it is today, if you believe in it and it feels important to you, do it and keep building things one brick at a time. If you have a big goal or a big vision, stay right-minded about it. I have a rule which is, what is now, what is the future? By nature and by my design, I'm a little bit of a futurist. It doesn't mean I don't pay attention to the present or bring myself back to the present, but part of my wiring and my skill, I guess, intuitively, is seeing future timelines. But what I've learned is, even if you have an ability to see future timelines, we only create the future through the now. So I have a rule about what's now and what's the future. There are things that I am doing right now that correlate to future visions that I have for 3, 4, 5 years away. But I know that I can't work on that 5-year away thing today. It's not time. We're not ready. Things aren't in place, but I can work on everything that I'm working on today that might connect to that future vision. So we build it one brick at a time. What can you do today that could serve and further the growth of your business and what you do? And then if you have a big vision, can you break it down into the steps required to get there? I've met many visionaries who love big visions, but they really struggle with the day-to-day, the smaller, the now. If that's you, then you really need to find people to work with who can help you with that, or develop your ability to be what I call a builder. So in the course I go through this, but I break it down that we can be, as an entrepreneur, you want to the best of your ability, know when to be a visionary, when to be an architect, and when to be a builder. The visionary is the one that has the big idea. The architect is the one that creates a plan or a structure or a map as to how you might bring that big idea into reality. And then the builder has to do it. So if the vision is, I want to have a retreat center in Brazil, the architect needs to work out, okay, how do you go about that? What visas might we need to inquire about? How long is this going to take? How much money is it going to need? How much money do I have? How much money do I need to fundraise? What's the worst case scenario? How do I build this in a way that it doesn't negatively impact me and my family if it fails for the first year? That's the architect. The builder then has to make the phone calls, write the emails, find out about the land, do the plans. So it's true in my experience that of the visionary, architect, builder archetypes, usually we're quite good at maybe 2 of them and not quite as good at a third. I know for me, I was a better visionary and builder than I was architect for a long time. But through my experience of serving a business and serving customers and understanding how it all connects, I became a better architect because I recognized that was a weak area for me. But equally, if you know, oh God, Lee, I'm a terrible builder, I'm a great visionary and a great architect, it's like, okay, well then you need to grow your business so that you can hire people who are wonderful builders who intersect with your vision. So one brick at a time is how we build something big. So don't discount the small thing you're working on today, and don't let your mind trip you out about where you aren't. Don't give that too much time. You'll only get there if you stop worrying about where you aren't or giving all that time and energy to where you aren't and start building something today that can be part of the future. As a friend of mine always used to say, acorns become trees and trees become forests, and that's the way I always think of it. Today I might just be working on an acorn, but it will eventually become part of the beautiful tree or forest in this business. So this next one, number 2, is one of my favorites, and it's something I learned a long time ago. I worked in customer service positions from the age of 13. So for me, customer service was, that first 10 years of my life. And actually, I still am in customer service. The customer is self-focused, and so they should be. The customer is self-focused, and so they should be. Here's what I mean by that. Even someone watching this video right now, there will be people who will turn this off probably already or any minute now, because they will decide, I am not for them, The way I'm describing this is not for them. The information is not for them. It's not valuable enough for them to give their time and attention to it. So when I say the customer is self-focused and so they should be, I mean that for people who are buying something from you, or even people who are receiving your free work. They aren't going to generously watch your 30-minute video to be nice to you, because people value their time. So the reason I always remind anyone I work with in the business training is the customer is self-focused is it's a really good thing to keep in your head when you are trying to bring something to the world that you actually want to connect customers to. There are a few geniuses in this world whose wiring seems to be that they don't care about the customer, but they're so brilliant that they have an ability to create something that the world wants, and at some point in their journey, managers, agents, and businesses connected with them to bring that work to the world. They do want customers, otherwise they would just create everything privately or build whatever they're building privately. They want to have that engagement with the world. But the reason I remind everyone the customer is self-focused is if you are bringing something to them, let's say you've created an online course, have you explained as much as you can to the customer about your online course? Not everybody is going to want to read 19 pages of text. So have you made sure that the 10 key points about this course are at the top? Then perhaps a little bit more detail or customer testimonials. And then for the people who really want to read a lot before they make a decision, because every customer is different. Some people want a very quick look at something. Some people want a deep dive. They really want to trust what they're doing. Have you done everything in your power to serve the customer who might want to purchase something from you or invest in something with you? This leads me to another point. I bought a business course from a fairly respected person who isn't that public but is attached to quite a few public people. And because I met him at someone's event and I liked him, nice guy and clever, I bought a business course from him back in about 2018, and it was $1,000, which was, a big deal for me at the time. But I've always had this philosophy that I will invest in business training because it's going to pay off. It's going to go into my business. It was $1,000. It was a good sounding course, and the customer service around the course was terrible. I emailed support. I didn't hear back from anyone for 10 days. I couldn't access something. I didn't hear back from anyone for 4 days. They promised an event that never came. And the course was just, there was nothing going on inside. He'd sold me the course, but he had not sold me customer service around the course. So this is something I see time and time again. A lot of focus that people will have on what they're creating and trying to make a sale. But you will not keep a customer if you don't serve that customer once they're with you. It's one of the things we take pride in here. I've always had a really strong value around customer service. I have hired brilliant people who also have a really strong value around customer service. I'm not saying certain things won't slip through the net. They will. That happens. But because our ethos is good customer service, and we understand that once a customer's invested time, money, and attention with you, they need to be served. So just keep that in mind. The customer is self-focused, and so they should be. This also equates to things that you feel you have to share with the world. Do you know the customer wants it? This is really important. I've met people who go, well, I want to write the book of my life story. And I'm like, okay, that's great. You can write the book of your life story. Yeah, and I want millions of people to read it. Okay, well, that's different. How are you going to serve other people through sharing your life story? Well, I'll just tell my story of my addiction and they'll show me some of the writing, and I'll say, this is fine if I really am already invested in you or know about you. But if you want to serve and if you want to connect this with millions of people, you need to pay attention to their need to find themselves in your story or your ability to serve it to them. So it's not that you can't be autobiographical, but if you're only being autobiographical with no eye on your audience, the audience won't stay. They won't engage. You know, I'm very aware that with my work, there are some things I can be much more personal with. You know, sometimes at my live events, people go, oh, you're so funny, and I never see that on your energy updates. And I'm like, well, my energy update isn't really the place for me to really crack jokes. And it's a very focused 25 to 30-minute teaching. And I know what people want with the energy update. They want my information. So that's what I serve. And I've been serving that for 11 years on video every month. I know what the different focus needs to be in each area, and hey, if I make a mistake, I'll learn. The audience will go, oh, I really didn't like that, and we'll go, okay, that's interesting. Well, let's pay attention to that, and let's see if it feels true to make some tweaks because of the feedback. So the customer is self-focused, and so they should be. You cannot take your eye off who you are serving. It doesn't mean you make it all about them and you sacrifice yourself. We'll come to that next. But it does mean that you have to ask yourself, if this was me, would I have enough information or enough holding or enough of what I believe my customers value to make this a rounded experience for them, and that they might want to come back and have a longer term relationship with me? It's a relationship, basically, you and your customer. That brings me to the golden intersection. So this is something I share about in the course too. The golden intersection, it's something that had always been in my mind, that the business is an entity. So I have a company called Lee Harris Energy. We also have Golden World Music, which is the music label through we put the music out, but that's only about 4 years old. Lee Harris Energy, at least my work, has been going for almost 20 years. So it's an energy, and I serve it. Yes, it has my name in it, and yes, I'm the front person for 90% of the work that we put out into the world, but it's its own energy. And the reason it's its own energy is it's a business, and it contains this wonderful team of people. And it, more importantly, connects with those of you in the world that know what we do. Whether you're with us for one free video, or whether you're with us for years and you're in my members community for 4 years and we're serving you through that every month. You, the customer, will decide how relevant we are to your lives. But Lee Harris Energy to me is an entity, and it's everything. It's bigger than me, of course. It's bigger than my team. It's a collaborative, collective thing. Now, the golden intersection is your business, your customers, and you. Your business, your customers, and you. So we just spoke about your customers. Your business we're talking about as an entity, and what that business needs is to thrive in whatever way that looks to you. And, you know, maybe you're in a fortunate position that you don't need to make money in or through your business. Perhaps you have a charitable endeavor. Perhaps you have a front-facing website that is funded through a foundation. The health of that business is going to rely on a certain amount of revenue to support whoever's working in it and team members, but it's actually going to rely on engagement. You know, you don't have to worry so much about money or funding, but you do have to worry about your mission, because the success of that business is, well, can we connect this benevolent thing we're doing with the people we want to serve and be benevolent towards? And perhaps there are people in the community or the audience who want to connect with us to help fund our benevolent mission. So that's your business, here are your customers, and then there is you. And the golden intersection on the diagram I share inside the course is right in the middle is the heart. So if you imagine 3 circles, your business, your customers, and you, right in the middle point is the heart. If you can be serving your customers, your business, and yourself as the person who is leading the business, but also considering your team members in there. Are my team members served? If you're like me and you are the product that is a huge part of your business, then definitely looking after yourself is important. But as the business owner or the one running the business, if you aren't the product, you still have to be involved, because you're the one that might be waking up or going to bed thinking about your business. You might be the one that is all in of all of your team. So the golden intersection is when you can serve your customers, your business, and you all at the same time. There are times that I have been offered business opportunities that would be good for business, but wouldn't feel in integrity to my customers or to me. So I've said no. And some of these things have been really big, you know, quote unquote big, whether they're financial things, whether they're status things, whether they're, but for me, it has to serve at least two components of that golden intersection. So if it serves the business and it serves my customers, perhaps it's not something that I personally feel a great need to do, but it's going to serve the business and it's going to serve the customers. That motivates me. I'm like, okay, great. I can see how that benefits our mission. Great, I'll do that, no problem. If it serves me and it serves the business, ultimately it will eventually serve the customers. So for example, perhaps I have a real passion area that's really important to me and I go, I don't think we've really got any customers around this, but I feel like I want to do it. And it would be good for business if I put a free video out about it. Because, you know, anything that you put out for free, unless you do a really bad job of that thing, is going to help serve your business. So the golden intersection, can you find the middle point where your business, your customers, and you are served? I'll give you an example of this. I once worked with a beautiful, beautiful soul. She was one of the final people I worked with when I was still doing private sessions. And at that point, a lot of people were coming to me for business mentoring. I think because my work had become more known and they would see my work, I would get a lot of practitioners and people from my field sign up to work with me on expanding what they do in the world. She was such a heartfelt soul, and she had one customer, well, actually she had a few, but there was one that was really in need. And she decided for 3 weeks to just devote herself to this one customer's needs. But he was in a very difficult financial situation. So she was doing daily free Reiki sessions for this person for about 3 weeks. And at the time I said to her, you're going to need to be a bit careful. That's going to deplete you and it will deplete the business. I said, it's wonderful you want to do that for him. I said, and you know, I trust your instinct if that's what you really want to do. I'm just being the voice of caution that this is a lot. And she was adamant, no, this is what I meant to do. And I went, okay, trust you, sure, go ahead. So she did it, and by about week 2, she was sick. And part of the problem, it wasn't that she couldn't be, benevolent to him. My advice was, well, can you do it, less? Can you once a week? Or I said, you're going to put yourself in a position that you will drain yourself. And she wasn't earning a huge amount at the time. She'd come to me because she was just about paying the bills. She'd just taken on a part-time team member as well. So lo and behold, she wore herself out. Now, the good news about this story is, remember I said business is all about self-growth? We all have these stories. We all have these things. I have them where you go, oh God, why did I do that? Well, you did it because you're learning, and we're human and we're all going to learn. So the good news about her is she's doing really well now because she looks after herself. But at that time, the piece that I could not get her to understand for a long time was of the golden intersection. She was focused on her business, her customers, but not her. And it's very typical with people in helping or healing professions. Well, he needs me, so I'll give all my energy and won't charge anything. But then for her, she got sick and she had to take weeks off. So she had to cancel her paid clients. And like I said, she didn't have reserves at the time. It wasn't like she had a savings account for her business. And, let's be honest, you're very fortunate if you get to that position. That's not a position I was able to get to for about the first 15 years because I was always growing. So I would say that a really important consideration for anyone in the helping or healing profession is don't forget to include you. You're not just in customer service and business service. This has to serve your well-being, because if you don't look after yourself, the whole thing comes down. That's why I have a whole module on entrepreneurial self-care. And if you want to think about that for yourself, what am I doing to support myself as I go through my next month as a business owner? And am I doing enough? I mean, all of us live in an overwhelming time on the planet, so it's very easy for all of us to neglect a certain level of self-care. But my argument is always, what can you do for 15 minutes with some regularity so that you don't get to a burnout point? I had really bad burnout in 2015 because I was trying to do too many things and be too many things to too many people. You do learn the hard way, but if you can remember the golden intersection, your customers, your business, and you, and check that at least 2 of those are in place and you're not dramatically costing the other area, then you're going to have a little bit of a balance of what I have found to be a very harmonious relationship between the 3 entities, you, customers, and the entity that is your business itself. Okay. Area number 4, this is a really important one. So the world needs you, not a carbon copy of someone you admire. We've all done it. It's very easy to do. I mean, comparison is a human disease, if you like. And I think comparison, when you can turn it into admiration or aspiration, is wonderful. When you can look at someone you're comparing yourself to, and rather than beat yourself up or feel like you're not where they are, if you really want to become a little bit more like what you're seeing, you can use it as aspiration or admiration that fuels you. But you know, I have crazy ideas about what I think I should be. I go and watch modern classical pianists and I have a fantasy of going, oh my God, why am I not a modern classical pianist? And then I remind myself, well, you could get rid of most of what you do now and focus on that, and at this late age you could still learn it. But I've realized, no, I just admire them so much, and they're like my fantasy other career. I have work that I really love and that I'm doing, and that is everything I really need. So there's nothing wrong with admiring, but there is a real problem that we have with comparing. Whether it's comparing to someone else's success, which can be dangerous. The one thing I've learned over the years is someone else's successful exterior might be masking a difficult thing they're going through that you wouldn't want. I remember once working with someone who was really envying her friend because her friend was getting married, and I said that to her, and then on the next session, it was just coincidence, she came back to me and she went, oh my God, I've just found out that my friend's mum is dying, and I had no idea, and it's been going on for months, and she's really grieving. I just looked at her Instagram post about her happy marriage because she doesn't want to share about her mum because her mum wants to be private. You know, this is the tricky thing about social media. You take a quick snapshot of someone's scenario and your negative mind goes, oh God, they're having a much better time than me. You don't know. Maybe that photo was taken yesterday and today they're having a really tough time. The reason I say the world needs you is there's a wonderful video on YouTube that you can find called Everything is a Remix. And it's basically showing how we're all reinventing the wheel. We're all putting a now stamp and our own personal vibration on things that have already been out there. Now, sure, there are some of you who might be inventors, and I do think we, through reinventing the wheel, we invent a new frequency in the now. It's true, we do. But I think sometimes you can give yourself a hard time by going, oh, well, why should I do a podcast when she's got this brilliant podcast on the same subject matter and she's got millions of people listening to her? Well, because they're her audience. They're there for her. They're there for her frequency, her way of saying it, and they connect with something to do with her, the show, the way the show is marketed. Perhaps she has a massive marketing budget, but that doesn't mean that of the millions of people that she's reaching, you couldn't reach hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. The thing about numbers you also have to be careful of when you're comparing is, I've often had people say to me, oh, well, I put an article out on Medium, but it only had 45 readers and 7 likes. And I'm like, okay, I understand 45 readers. Part of the reason you're saying that is if you have more readers, everything else would be more successful. I'm not discounting that, but 45 people is 45 people. 7 people liking it, that probably means maybe 15, 20, or maybe more liked it, but they didn't press the button. So if you imagine a room full of 45 people, then suddenly you start to see these numbers, because we're not numbers, we're people, we're souls. Those 45 lives that you've touched, and the 7 people who liked it, you've imprinted their day. That article you wrote has touched them, gone into them. You have put something into words and energy that has impacted and shaped their life. I don't know about you. I'm a composite of every teacher, my parents, my family, my friends, the brilliant books I read, the amazing music artists who touched me. I've become a kind of, an energy field that has been influenced by all of those people. That's beautiful. Some of them will never know. Some of the sweetest interactions I tend to have is when I'm out in the world and I meet people I've never met. Whether it's someone briefly when we're standing in line at a store, or I'm often in Ubers and for work with travel, and I just meet the most amazing different Uber drivers and people, and those are such sweet interactions, and I am mindful now to thank those people or to say something to them, but they don't realize the impact and the influence they have on me. So if you're putting work out into the world, you don't know how much of a vibrational shift you caused to those 45 people and those 7 people who said they liked it. So don't discount your numbers. Certainly not if you're growing or if you're wanting to grow. You need one thing that's working for you, and keep going until you find that one thing that's working for you. That's how you build your business. For me, what worked for me was my sessions. Then at a certain point, I started trying other things. And now the biggest thing really that I guess most people know me for is that monthly free video. But we also serve tens of thousands every year now in my online courses, in my membership. And that's what keeps the whole thing going. So the world needs you. The world doesn't need you to be a version of Jay Shetty or Elizabeth Gilbert or anybody out there that you admire. They're already there. They're doing their thing. But you will be doing your version of what it is that you admire. So never discount yourself. I did it so many times. Oh, why would I do that? Because that's already out there. But there would always be this little flame inside me that would make me go, well, I want to do it. I want to experience it. I want to offer it to my customers. If there was enough of a flame inside me to do it, those little bits of mental chatter could move out. So the world needs you, not a copy of people that you admire. And don't forget, comparison is just about your wounds and desires. So don't get stuck there or use it as a reason not to create. And this is the interesting thing about putting your work out into the world. You do come into contact with your wounds. If you're paying attention and you stay aware, you'll go, oh, why am I feeling a bit envious of that person over there? Let me look at that envy. Let me get underneath it. Is it old? Does it remind me of envying people in the playground? Or why did I discount myself? Why did I look at them and think, oh, I can't have that or be that? And why did that cause me pain? If you're going to be a conscious entrepreneur, that's the way to do it. It's recognizing that the growth of your business, or just your business, even if you're not in a growing phase, is constantly giving you learning and healing opportunities that you can grow through and move through. It's very active and very alive. So the world needs you, not a copy of someone else out there. They're already there, but doesn't mean you aren't needed. You are needed, and now is your time. Okay, number 5. Learning is a constant. Learning is a constant. I say this because I've realized that learning is a constant for myself, but I think remembering that you're always going to be learning something, remembering that the world is changing at such a rapid pace that we're all having to learn and adapt and shift. But I think perfectionism is one of the enemies of putting your work out there. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a fairly high bar on quality control. We're all a bit different. And a business advisor I worked with said to me that as a team leader, the one thing that I'm quite hot on is quality control, the quality of what we're doing, the quality of what's going out. Of course, I'm not involved in every aspect of my business like I used to be, but if I see something that isn't quite finished or needs improving or has gone out and we need to correct it, I'll stay fairly hot on that. But I've also had to learn to let go over the years and not be too quality control, because if I was that much of a perfectionist, we'd never do anything and there'd be nothing going out there. And we, my team have very high standards, and we'll joke about it. There are several of us in the team who, we have to let go of our perfectionism here. Did we get it ready? Did we do our best? Do we feel it's serving people to the best of our ability and it's holding them in the way that we feel okay with? Okay, good. So the reason I say learning is a constant is to remind you that there's always going to be something in your business that could be better or needs fixing. The amount of people who have shown me their website and apologized about their website. Oh, well, you can go to my website, but I haven't updated it for 4 years. And now, advice for you if that's your story. If you aren't planning on updating your website, next time you have the opportunity to let someone see your website, or someone says, hey, have you got a website? I'd love to see your work. Say it like this. I haven't updated it for 3 or 4 years. I do need to do that, but feel free to have a look. That's a much more positive way of imparting it to me. You're giving me the information I need. Oh, this is old, but you're not ashamed for me to go and look at it. Now, if you are ashamed and you go, oh yeah, I need to do something about it, that's a real clue for you as a business owner. You're not serving your business by having a website you're ashamed of. So that's your one brick at a time for now. Your first most important thing is, oh, I just sent this guy called Lee, who I met at a conference, to a website I'm embarrassed about. He could have been someone that would have wanted to collaborate with me. I mean, I wouldn't discount someone. Like, if I've had a feeling about someone, I wouldn't discount them. But it's a sign for me that there's an area of your business that you aren't proud of. And these days, you can have a simple website, like a one-page. I mean, some of my favorite websites are not the ones with all the bells and whistles. They're ones that are compelling. You know, it might be one photo and 3 paragraphs, and the first line says, I really don't like websites. In fact, I can't believe I've made one. But guess what? The world needs websites, so here we are. And I'm like, oh, that got my attention. So it's not about how fancy things look. It's about how real, authentic, and true things are. So you will always be learning in your business. There will always be some area for you to grow through. Especially as things grow, you're always going to have things that are in motion or in movement or in need of improvement. You know, I could probably walk you through 3 or 4 areas of where we need to improve right now, and we're either already working on them and it's in progress, or I've put it on the list for 3 or 4 months from now because we're doing other things. But in general, you want to make sure that the perfectionist in you isn't embarrassed about what you're doing, because then that's the energy you transmit about the business. So it kind of takes us back to one brick at a time. If there's a really chronic area that you think you need to fix in your business, how can you prioritize that, especially if it's front-facing, something like a website? Because the customer is going to come to that website and go, oh, okay, no, I'm not signing up for the newsletter. Oh, I won't come back here. But we all know if we have a great experience, I know I'm like this, if I have a great customer experience somewhere, I'm going back, or I'm getting on the newsletter, or the minute they newsletter me, I'm going to open it. I will be more forgiving of the customer experience if I really want the thing. But again, the more of these areas you can cover, you, the creator, the inventor, the person leading the product, whatever it is, and your passion and enthusiasm, your business and your customers, if you can get that golden intersection as alive as possible, you're going to have a more magnetic, a natural magnetic energy out there in the world with what you're doing. So no perfectionism allowed. You'll have it. You'll have moments where you're like, oh, but you know what? Talk to a friend, ask advice of someone that you work with, and just let it go. The world isn't perfect. We aren't perfect. Perfectionism is not something that most people really enjoy, unless that's what you're selling, in which case you'll have a customer base of perfectionists following you. So try and let yourself off the hook with perfectionism, and learning is a constant, and so is improving. So what you have to learn to keep growing with your business, and what a growing business requires, is constant improvement, problem solving, maintenance. No different to a family or a relationship. Okay, and number 6, our last one, invest. Invest in your business. So time, money, energy, focus. These are things we can invest in. One thing I can speak about knowingly about myself, one area I've been strong in, is I've always been willing to invest money in the growth of the business. And the only reason I can say that is because team members tell me this, and I've also met other people in my field who are unwilling to do that. And I've seen the results of that for them. So for me, investing money in a production team for my work was not only what I desired, but I knew it would be good for my business and good for my customers, the golden intersection, right? But I have met, it doesn't quite make sense to me when, for example, there's let me think, the wonderful photographer that I've been working with for 6 years. And she and I have a great relationship. And at the time I first worked with her, she was expensive for me. Like, she was a notch up on what I would have probably felt comfortable paying. But again, because it's good for the business, I'm like, okay, no, we'll do this. And I recommended her to a few different friends. And it was so interesting to me that several of them came back to me and they said, oh, no, that's too expensive. But it's not for the quality you get. And what struck me about two of these friends was I knew that they were earning really good money in their business. So to me, it didn't make sense that they didn't want to invest. So what I have noticed is we tend to cap the growth of our business when we don't invest. Now, I didn't always have money. I didn't always have money that I could invest in services with people, but I had time and I had focus. I used to spend, 70 hours a week back in the day working on my business, but because I loved it, I realized that wasn't healthy at a certain point, and I had to calm that down over the years. But I put a lot of focus and a lot of time and a lot of energy into it. One of the great things these days is you've got amazing templates for websites that you can create yourself. 4 years ago, when we started the music side of my work and we started really recording albums in a new way, I used to edit the music website myself because it was not an area of my business that was earning money. The rest of my team were busy. I had help with the design, but I would quite happily go over there and invest the time and the energy and the focus. And over the last few years, I've invested a lot of focus and energy in how do we get this business out there. And money too, but relative to what the music earns. You have to be relative. You can't just throw money at something and hope for the best. You have to pay attention. So invest. What would the next area be for you that you could invest in your business? And perhaps if you're feeling like your customer engagement is low, perhaps you're like, oh, my customer, I don't really feel like we have much of a relationship. How can you shake that up? Can you start being more personal in your newsletters and perhaps sharing a personal story? Whatever area you think your business needs help, whether it's the financial side, whether it's engagement, whether it's contacting people, what might you need to do to invest in the growth? And that includes learning. So if I was in a position today where I had no money, but I knew that I needed to invest in the business and the customer growth, I would spend time going and finding all the free videos on YouTube I could find that might help me, or any free articles. And I would be realistic. It's like, I can't spend the money. I'm just about making my rent. I can't invest money at this point because I also don't have enough of a customer base to justify it. And I don't know where that money's going to come from. I haven't got spare money sitting around. But I can use time. And I can go and find the things that are going to feed me, give me ideas, help me get a rung up the ladder, so that at a certain point I start getting more customers. And that's the moment when money can be something that I can invest. So time, money, energy, focus. These are really important things to consider. So where do you next need to invest? And where are you next able to invest? Okay, so those are the 6 areas that I could speak to you about today. And of course, if it were tomorrow, I'd probably have a few different ones. But I really sat with, over the last week, just tried to tune in on what would be important for those of you who've gathered here today to hear this. So let's do a quick recap, and I'm going to walk you through the 6 areas in headline form. So number 1, 1 brick at a time. Focus on today. Especially if overwhelmed or thinking too much about your big vision and you're frustrated because it's not happening, what can you do to be the architect of that vision and figure out what some of the steps are and start today? So if you want to have 1 million people on Facebook, are your posts good? Are you looking into how to help people reach people on Facebook? There are so many checklists you can go through as to what is the thing I can do today that can build towards my big vision. And don't get seduced by someone else's 20 years if you're on 2 years. Doesn't mean you might not get there faster. In fact, I think you will, because these days everything is so much more available and easy with the internet, but be careful of comparing there, and we'll come to comparison in a minute. So one brick at a time, focus on what you're building today. Number 2, the customer is self-focused, and so they should be. They're not giving you free time, attention, or money, and nor should they be. If they're going to invest with you, what is it you're giving them in return? So make sure your quality of what you're doing is good. Make sure you're looking after them when they've come into you, and that you're investing time and money in making sure your customer service holding is good. But also think about, be quite tough on yourself about your offering. Does your offering just describe what it is? Okay, that's something. Does your offering tell me what I'm going to get from it? Do you give me examples? Can I taste a free video? Or, you've got to put yourself in their shoes. If you're asking them to invest time, money, and attention, how can you make them feel safer around that? Remember, when I started my sessions, I was $15, I was £10. That made me very affordable to most people who valued that. So I took away the barrier of price for about my first 100 sessions, and I built a client base, and they would refer me to their friends. So I've met many people who go, well, I'm worth $300 a session. And I'm like, does the market tell you that? Do your customers know that? I mean, it's one thing to have self-pride, but it's another thing to be realistic and say, you're not worth $300 yet, unless you are going all in on selling yourself for $300. But if they don't know that you're worth that to them, or they don't see you as being that valuable to them, you're going to really struggle unless you try and meet them halfway. Okay, number 3, the golden intersection. Your customers, your business, and you. I'm not going to hang around on this one because I feel like I gave lots of examples. How can you serve your customers, your business, and you? Either 2 of those areas, or ideally 3 of those areas at the same time. So if there's something you hate doing, but you think it would be good for your customers and your business, don't do it, because you hate doing it. That's not going to be a good vibration for you or the business or the customers. But if you don't mind doing it, and the customers and the business love it, and that will serve your business in a way that you can then go and do something you really love, great, that's worth doing. So, number 4, the world needs you, not a carbon copy of someone else. So be yourself and find your own way. And it's great to look at other people doing things you admire or like, but what's your version of that going to be? Look for the video, Everything is a Remix, on YouTube. It will take away some of that, I have to be completely unique in a way the world has never seen. You already are. You just need to get out your own way and do it. Learning and improving is a constant. Learning and improving is a constant. We're always learning. There's always something we can improve. But don't let either of those things stop you. It's like people saying, I need to work on myself and heal myself before I find a relationship. Well, if you're paying attention, a relationship is going to do all that work for you. So by all means, I'm not saying if you've come out of a heartbreak and you need to clear your heartbreak and your grief, that's different. But someone who's been single for 10 years saying, I need to heal myself a bit more. No. Get in a relationship. That will, if you're paying attention, that will do it for you. And number 6, invest. Invest. Time, money, energy, focus. And remember, with money, it can be good to push yourself. I can give you countless examples where I slightly pushed my comfort zone, either on the price of my sessions as I raised my prices, or even that first time I hired my wonderful photographer who's become a dear friend and who I've worked with for 6 years and is world class in what she does. And I love doing it with her, which is great because I didn't like having my photo taken before her. So it's an interesting thing. You have to sometimes just push your comfort zone. But I always say, don't push your comfort zone in a really dramatic way that you might regret. But you can push it a little bit. So catch yourself, go, oh yeah, why can't I spend $200 on that thing instead of $100 if I think it's worth it, just because I've got something in my head saying you can't ever spend more than $100. Is that still true? Investigate old parts of your mind. As the business grows, you will be asked to grow and you will be asked to change. you'll be asked to shed, and you, your business, and your customers will get into this symbiotic relationship that can be such a beautiful thing. I'm so grateful for my work all along the way. Like I mean, I'm not kidding when I say it was a miracle to me that people would send me their questions, and they used to make me cry in the first years because I was so touched that this stranger would trust me with these deep parts of their life. And then, you know, it was always a relief when I sent them the document and they came back going, oh my God, thank you so much. Because there was always a part of me going, I hope this helps. I don't know. My customers trained me to understand the value of what I did. I was compelled to do it, but they educated me by saying to me, thank you, that really helped. And that's a big driving force for me. That really is one of the things that is big for me. For me, if the work helps someone, I'm thrilled, because I can't tell you how many times the work or the music or the writing from other people pulled me out of a deep, dark hole in my life. So I love being part of that exchange. So whatever it is you're doing in the world with your work, I wish you all the love and all the luck. And for those of you who might be interested in taking a deep dive with me in my Grow Your Business course, which is, I'm not quite sure exactly how many hours it's going to be of video content, because we've broken them all down into smaller bite-sized sections. And we're in the editing process right now, and I'm doing some live videos, but it's going to be about 12 to 15 hours at least worth of video teaching and a workbook. So for those of you who are interested, I'm going to share with you just a few of the areas that we are covering in Grow Your Business. Module 1 is all about serving your mission, how you serve your mission, how you understand what you're doing and why, how to get clearer about it, and how to communicate it. Module 2 is money, your business, and you. Money is such a tricky area for any of us who have had to go through that journey of charging for our own work. So we take a deep dive into money, your business, and you, and how that all works on an energetic level, and also what's the right thing to do by your business and by your customers. The art of creativity and transformation is a whole module where we look at how to be a creative. You know, it's something that not everybody was taught. And yet there are pathways and patterns that happen for those of us who create things that can be very helpful and can stop you getting blocked or stopping yourself, just understanding the energetic nature of creation and how to create things in the world. The next module is content that connects. So in here we have everything from online courses to podcasts to one-on-one sessions, like various different ways that you can create things that will connect with an audience or a customer. We look at the practical side of what you might create. We look at the energetics behind it. And as usual, we look at how it can benefit your customer, your business, your mission. Authentic marketing and outreach. Marketing is a real shadow area for a lot of people. It can be very tricky. People worry it's manipulative. So we'll talk about how to be authentic about telling people what you're doing and why, and how to outreach and connect with not only customers for your work, but also collaborators and other people who might be able to help not only further your mission, but you might be able to join forces and help them with furthering their own. Understanding social media. So my marketing director of 6 years is going to do a presentation on what you might want to consider in the very, very interesting social media landscape of today. I know many people have opinions about social media, and I fully understand it can be a very tricky thing. But the truth is, social media is an incredible way to connect your message, your work, your offering to people. So we'll look at some really good and helpful basic and also some advanced tips around how to look at that today. Entrepreneurial self-care. Looking after yourself, your health, your well-being is so important. So there's a whole module on how you might prioritize getting yourself to be the best you can be. And no, I don't just mean for your business or for your customers. I mean for you and for your enjoyment of what you do, and for recognizing that looking after you is looking after your business and your customers. But start with yourself. It's a different way of thinking for many of us, and it's something that radically improves the growth and the ability of you to connect your business to your customers. Valuing your gifts and pricing your work, understanding how to value your innate gifts and feel confident with pricing your work and what that looks like and what that means. And then the final few modules are building a team and working with a team, what that might look like for you, how to know when it's time to hire, what you might be looking for, team leadership. We look at all of those things in building a team. And then we have a workbook that accompanies all of these modules and several bonuses, including a video called The Entrepreneur of the Future. And this is actually a channeled message from my guides, the Z's. So that just is my guides giving an insight into what are some of the qualities and energies for entrepreneurs in the coming years, what's important, what to focus on, and what to already understand about why you're valuable and what's already in you. It's a really beautiful channel that's almost an hour long. And finally, I will be doing live clinic calls. So I will be live with those of you who take the course this coming month, and I'll be answering your questions. And we do 2 of these, and we do it once all of the modules have been released. So we take all the questions in advance. I will look at every single one, and I will make sure that we spotlight enough of the ones that cover the areas that most of you are asking about. So that can be incredibly powerful. The live clinic calls is a wonderful way for me to understand directly what you need, and also to help you perhaps connect the dots between some of the teachings and what you're looking for. And it's also just a beautiful part of the course, being with the community for a live call. And lastly, community is everything. I say that at all my workshops. I think one thing that entrepreneurs need is fellow entrepreneur community. So we already have about 1,100 people as of today signed up to take Grow Your Business. So there's going to be an incredible community inside the course that you can connect with. In past business trainings I've done, people make connections that they do work with or they collaborate with. And so it's a beautiful thing. So holding space for this community is something that me and my team are really excited about. Big question we always get, do I have to be there live? Do I have to do it in a time scale? Nope. You get lifetime access to this material, so there's no pressure, especially if you have a busy life running your business, your life. Everything will be archived for you, including the live calls, so you needn't worry that you miss anything, and you can do it at your own pace. It's really important that we can do that in this day and age. So if you resonate with today's broadcast and what I've just shared about Grow Your Business, we would love to have you with us. If you aren't going to join us for the course, I really hope you've enjoyed today. I hope that you've managed to get a few things from some of the things that I've said, and thank you for your time and your attention. And I wish you lots of love and luck with whatever you are doing in the world. You are needed, and now is your time. And the growth of your business is the growth of you. It's a beautiful relationship. So I wish you love and luck with it.